Amitabh, and thank you, Niti Aayog, for having invited me for this, for the launch of the National Asset Monetization Pipeline. And just to remind you, National Infrastructure Pipeline was launched in December 2019, and there is a parallel running of these two from this year onwards. So this is going to be coterminous with the infrastructure pipeline, is a point which Amitabh made, and I think that really gives you the timeline and the framework and how infrastructure related, both brownfield and greenfield things are going to happen simultaneously. But the first thing to start with is the budget that we presented in February 2021 was clearly something which was prepared in the light of the pandemic affected economy. 2020, you saw the rapid changes that had happened. We had to lock down the economy because at that time we did not even have PPE kits. Then, of course, ramping up of capacities and production, all that happened. But nevertheless, the economy did have a serious challenge, but we didn't allow the challenge to remain there. We took it as an opportunity, and in order to make sure that the economy gets the necessary support from us, from the government, we clearly identified as infrastructure being the central pillar through which, if public expenditure happens, you're able to be sure that the revival will be clearly predictable, and also it will have immediate spillover effective, the spillover effect, which itself can create that cycle of demand. So it was very clear that the public expenditure in infrastructure will have to be really increased, and also continuously I've kept monitoring. So the target which will have to be achieved, in spite of the second wave, we've been monitoring all the departments and also the public sector undertakings. They are ramping up, and I'm glad to say that they're, in spite of the second wave, they've tried keeping their best, and it is going on. I shall be monitoring it further. But what the asset monetization pipeline does today is to take this entire thing to the next phase, where you're looking at the public-private partnership. You're also making sure, and here, let me first of all underline, Amitabh did say it during his presentation, and Rajiv Kumar ji also has mentioned it. There's no land here. This entire pipeline, National Monetization Pipeline, is talking about brownfield assets where investment has already been made, where there is a completed asset which is either languishing or which is remaining not fully monetized or which is remaining underutilized. So by bringing in the private participation into this, you're going to be able to monetize it better, and with whatever resource that you're having obtained through the monetization, you're able to put in further investment into infrastructure building. So first of all, for those who have this question in your mind, which means, are we selling away the lands? No, this infrastructure, National Monetization Pipeline, is talking about brownfield assets which need to be better monetized. And more importantly, I want to show you again a slide which Amitabh showed, and which has been very clearly emphasized by Rajiv Kumar ji, that ownership of assets remains with the government. That was a slide shown. I'm just showing it here. The ownership remains of those assets with the government, and there will be a mandatory hand back. They'll have to give back after a certain time. So let there not be any confusion, oh, this government is selling away. No, these are assets, brownfield, which will be still with the ownership of the government. And the second most important point here is that the contractual partnerships which we will enter in executing this monetization pipeline will be with full KPIs and performance standards ensured. So the KPIs and performance standards will have to be complied with for getting through the monetization pipeline. So they're all de-risked assets, no doubt, and the value from the consideration and the private investment which will come into maintaining it, optimally utilizing it, putting it for a larger cost, All this will generate greater value and it will unlock resources for the economy, which is what we want. The economy needs more resources. The economy wants that kind of a liquidity, that kind of a value unlocking with which we can move forward. So we'll have to understand that this is a transition. You're bringing in greater innovative ways of private participation. Examples were given of InvITs, which are being very popularly used by the highways, National Highways Authority. Power Grid Corporation, for instance, has also used the InvIT rates model, and as a result, they were able to raise more than 7,000 crores. So I think it's important that India recognizes that time has come for making the most out of our assets. And in this pipeline, we've listed that out so that they can be better monetized. How do you think this is going to work out? How is the government confident that this is going to work out? And really, for it to work out, have we done enough groundwork? I would like to draw your attention. I'm sure all of you are aware, but in this context, it is necessary for us to draw to some facts which have happened in the last 7 years. There's been a consistency in policy. And the regulatory support has also been periodically reviewed by the Prime Minister himself to make sure, in the name of ease of living, in the name of ease of doing business, we are making sure that the regulatory support is also consistent. Enabling frameworks have been put in place. So therefore, I think this proactive thrust which is being given for monetization will really find the right kind of ecosystem with which we can meaningfully monetize our assets. In this, without me getting into too much of detail, because I'm also talking about how this policy is very much in line with what we have said in the budget. I want to draw your attention. You would remember, even through Corona, even through the pandemic, we had given nearly 12,000 crores to the states as interest-free 50-year loans. So this was given for the states to choose the project that they want to do in infrastructure. And that 12,000, I'm happy to say 11,900 has already gone to the states, which means there is clearly a demand in the states for spending on infrastructure. So last year's 12,000 crore was divided as 2,500 crores to the northeastern states and hill states. Then about 7,500 crores was given to all other states. About 2,000 crores was given to states, subject to some conditions that they fulfill those reformatory steps that we had taken. Only 2,000 of the 12,000 was tied to performance and reforms steps which they had to take. And even in that, when states have fulfilled the reforms which we set as a precondition, most states have adhered and taken the money. That is why of the 12,000 crores, 11,900 has already been given to the states. I am underlining the point that this monetization pipeline is coming at a time when states are also keen to move forward, and therefore we have come. Amitabh did explain that up to 5,000 crores for this year. I spoke about 12,000 crore for last year. For this year, Amitabh did highlight that about 5,000 crores of financial assistance is already budgeted in this year's budget, again as a 50-year loan to the states, interest-free. But I want you to understand that there are three dimensions or three different silos under which support is going to be given to the states. One is, if they disinvest, let's say a PSU, or if they disinvest and also let go the control, whatever money they would raise out of it, 100% will match it and give it to their state's consolidated fund of the state. There are three ways in which we are supporting monetization by the states. This year's money for interest-free amount is given to the states. One scheme is if the states come out with a PSU disinvestment plan, and if they disinvest it completely giving away control, the money that they raise, we will give 100% matching amount into their state's consolidated fund. That is one way. The second way is if they list, instead of privatizing, if they just list a company, a state-held public sector undertaking, if they just bring it to the markets and list it, and the money realized through that listing, we will match 50% of it. Whatever they realize by the listing, whatever amount they would raise, we will match it by giving the states 50% of that. That's a second proposition. The third is what Amitabh mentioned, that 5,000 is kept aside in the budget. And in this is a financial assistance, and we are giving them a 50-year interest-free again, up to 33% of the value of the assets realized through the monetization. So there are three different ways in which we have agreed to assist the states in order that there is a greater sense of monetizing states' assets. Plan A, which I explained, 100% support from center. Plan B, 50% support where you're listing the companies. And Plan C is the monetization where we'll give up to 33%. So this is about 10,000 crore. I've given you three different categories in which for monetization we are helping. Last year I said 12,000 we gave for states' states' own choice of what they want to do in terms of infrastructure spending. This year, that amount, which was 12,000 last year, this year it is 10,000 crores. For any project that they choose, we will give them according to certain proportion. Last year's 12,000, this year's 10,000 crore. Other than that, you have the three different ways in which we are telling states, if they go ahead with PSU, disinvestment, 100%, 50% when they go for listing, or 33% when they're going for monetization. So I would like to underline and draw your attention to the fact that not only did we announce central government's budgetary provision, which was what, 134% more than last year? Am I right, Vivek, if you will correct me? Reaching 5.5 lakh crores for public expenditure for infrastructure. That is one big thing that we've announced. We gave last year 12,000 crores to the states as a 50-year loan interest-free. This year we are giving 10,000 crore interest-free for infrastructure. Over and above that, the three different categories that I've explained to you. So the underlining point is, we are with the states. We want to work together with the states. We have taken a whole of government approach. That's why you have all the secretaries here who are going to take it up onto themselves and spread, whether it is a sports stadium or a railway route or urban properties, which the ministers here, secretaries here who will explain it, and so on. So the central ministries and asset owning entities now only need to be geared up towards taking this initiative forward and proactively working with all of us for actively implementing the national monetization pipeline and achieve yearly targets. This is for the next 4 years, but every year we need to go ahead achieving the targets so that the impetus that the economy needs now, particularly coming out of the pandemic, will be getting full gear support from all of us. So thank you very much, Niti Aayog, for having given me this opportunity. I did elaborate a bit more than what I would otherwise want to do, but all towards infrastructure development and all towards the center's commitment towards giving the right kind of boost for the economy to revive. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this very detailed